Thank you, DJ. Welcome, everyone. It is a very exciting time. I hope everybody's as excited as I am about beginning the start of the launch of a new website and a new look for ASID on both the headquarters level and the chapter level. I'm so excited for the progress that we've made already. I know many of you have gotten a lot of emails from me giving you your login and giving you access to the back ends of your websites. Please continue to shoot me any questions should you have any questions throughout the process. If there's any chapters who have not received that yet, we're still finalizing just a few details in your chapter site. We did run into just a few minor issues here and there in some chapters that had a lot of content that we had to pull over a lot more than we anticipated. So a few chapters just took a little longer than initially anticipated. But we are still on schedule. We still are planning to launch next Tuesday. And next Tuesday we're planning to launch, while we'll launch and we'll have all the sites up, we'll still give it probably maybe a day or two to really announce it to the public that the sites are up. We will be testing a lot of different things over the weekend, making sure everything is running smoothly, including logins, paying dues, online, things like that. We'll continue doing that throughout the weekend until we get up to Tuesday's launch. For today, we're going to, with Kat from Orasys is going to walk everyone through doing a little bit more intricate updates compared to what we did on our call last week. There's a lot of capabilities here. If you do not use some of this stuff that we're going to show you today, that will be okay. You'll still have a very, if you're using a lot of the text edits that we used last week, you'll still have a very graphic-heavy website, but today we'll go into things like forms and photo galleries that will be great for you to use as well. Before really getting into the program, I did want to show just one thing that is on the headquarters site. We do have now a new chapter locator that's going to be on the headquarters site that is actually powered by Google Maps. It has the location of every chapter, and we had a note at the top that said that the chapter is an indication of where the chapter office is, not the jurisdiction of the chapter. If you click on any of those pins, then the chapter location comes up and the name of the chapter, and if you click View Chapter Info, it will go down, or go to More Info. It would go to the chapter listing, which is under the map, and then you could click on the chapter websites, and we will automatically have all of your social media there. And this can take you directly to all of the chapter sites. So I did want to show that really quick to show that we have a much easier, user-friendly way to connect with all the chapters. And before passing it over to Kat, I will say, so Kat's going to run through a lot of these things. We're going to leave about 15 minutes at the end, so if you have questions about what she went over today, and also any other questions as you've been going in and making any changes throughout the week, if you have any other questions, you can ask them at that time too. And as Kat goes through, I will be answering a few questions on the sidebar as well. So without further ado, I'll pass over to Kat.
Great, thank you so much, Joseph. Hi everyone, again, my name is Kat, and I'm going to be walking through some of the additional kind of modules that we touched on very briefly last time to get you into some more advanced capabilities that you have on your new website. So without further ado, I'll dig in, and the very first place that we're going to start with is the Photo Galleries module. So just to give you a quick reminder, the modules are the different elements that you can put onto your website, and the Photo Galleries module is the ability to add a gallery onto your website. You can add it into any of your content pages. So perhaps you have a great event that you want to create a page about and kind of let people know, here's all the things that we did on this event, here's a picture and gallery. You kind of really want to archive that event. You can go ahead and use the Photo Galleries module to add in all your pictures, and then you can use the Pages module to insert that gallery into your into your page. So I know that sounds a little daunting by just saying it, but we're going to walk through it today, and you're going to realize it's a pretty easy task to do. So we're going to go ahead and get started by clicking in the left-hand navigation on the Photo Galleries module, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to browse galleries to start. I have gone ahead and created a test gallery just to kind of speed us up through here so that we're not adding every single picture, but I will walk through kind of the similar processes of how you would add a gallery. So to add a brand new gallery, you're going to click the plus button up here in the right or down in the left, add gallery button. So when you click the plus, it brings up an Add Photo Gallery page. This is where you can enter the title of your photo gallery, and then you can enter the description. You also have that active, inactive button, so you don't have to have something active all the time. If you're not ready for it to be an active choice, you can make it inactive until you've got all of your content ready there so there's no confusion. So once you'd add your title and your description, you would click Save. And that would take you back to the Browse Photo Galleries page. So you would come right in here. The very next thing that you have to do is you have to browse those photos and you have to add in your photos. So when you click Browse Photos, it'll take you here and you'll see that I've got 3 images already loaded up. So you can add as many different images as you want into your gallery. I wouldn't recommend going like into the 60 or 80 pictures because the reality is that your users aren't going to click through that many pictures. It's better to pick the best pictures that you have to put them up on your site and showing your best, put your best foot forward with your content instead of going for quantity. Kind of always err on the side of quality over quantity when it comes to content. So we've got 3 elements in here already, but let's go ahead and add a 4th image. So I'm going to click the plus button right in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll see I have 3 fields that pop up. The title, so what is the title of my picture? And this could be anything descriptive to say who's in the picture. It could be just, image 1, image 2, kind of whatever is your preference and really unique to what you're adding. So I'm going to go ahead and add image 4, and then you can add a description to add more information about your picture, or it's optional, so you don't have to. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add an image. So I'm going to browse, and I dragged and dropped my image in there. You also don't have to drag and drop. You can click the browse button, and then you can select your image from your computer, whatever way is best for you. So again, I'm just going to do a little drag and drop, place it in, and it's going to add my image there. So I've got my image, I have my title. I opted not to do a description on this one, which is okay. I'm going to click Save. And you're going to see it's going to go ahead and add your image in. But it added it first, and maybe that's not the first image that you want to have displayed. So again, if you remember from our last training, you can drag and drop the order of your elements. So you can go ahead and move that image to be last or in the middle or wherever you want the order of your images to appear. So you would go through that process to add all of the different photo gallery images in that you would want. And then we would go into the Pages module to insert that image. So we're going to go ahead and we'll go over to the Pages module, and I'll start giving you a little bit of a brief analogy into how you can insert those pages. So if you remember, you browse your pages, and I have gone ahead and created a new page for us already to get started, and it's called Test Content. I'm just going to click Edit. So you'll see immediately that if you remember from last time I said we were going to talk about the content builder this time instead of the WYSIWYG. The WYSIWYG is a great tool for your very simple pages that you don't need to have, kind of some different elements, and it's great if you decide to have all your pages as WYSIWYGs and you don't use that this new functionality. That's okay. As Joseph said, you still can have beautiful website pages, and everything will will look great on the front end of your website. But if you decide to use some of this functionality, these are the tools that you would use. So you're going to come in here, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to delete out that photo gallery block that I had just created. So it's going to bring in what you see here as a 12-column grid. And forgive me because I have to get a little bit technical to explain this to you guys. So I'm sorry if it goes a little bit into the technical world instead of being into the non-technical world. But the way your website is built, and if we take a look at your website, it's built in a columned grid structure. And if you kind of think about it, I'm sure a lot of you took some you may have taken some graphic design classes, or maybe kind of understand that sort of structure of how elements can break up. But by using a grid, it allows your website not only to align and have your elements kind of be within the same sort of pattern and structure, but also when it comes to responsive web design, which is your website breaking down to mobile and having your website look good on all devices and any size browser. It allows your elements to the grid to compress and your elements to shift as your grid compresses. So if you go back over to the content builder, you'll see that it has your 12 columns, and that represents the content area that you have for your elements. So if you want your content to span the entire width of your content block, then you're going to have your element go the entire width. So like these up here go the entire width. But the great thing about the content builder is that you can break the elements and content up on your site into different blocks. So, for example, I could insert my photo gallery, and I could have my photo gallery only go halfway across the page. And then on the other side, I could add a different block that maybe had text to describe my photo gallery, and so that would be on the right-hand side. So if I add my blocks and I say, okay, this is kind of how I want to have it. I want to have my photo gallery on the left, and I want to have some text on the right. So that's kind of how you would have kind of different items. So when you click select type, you're going to see from a list of a drop-down list here. You can insert into this content builder forms, lists, your blog, which is your news, WYSIWYG, which is just adding kind of content blocks or images or video, or using that content in WYSIWYG, kind of the same thing that you can do under the WYSIWYG, but under in this small section, or images. So to insert our photo gallery, we would click Image Options, and that's going to open up a new page that allows you to add the content for that specific image. So what we're going to do is we're going to start filling it out. So you're going to title your block, and the title isn't anything front-facing. It's only for you to be able to identify what is in this block. So I'm going to put photo gallery just so that I kind of can use that as just a reminder. And then I'm going to click on the image options, and I'm going to insert it as a photo gallery. So I insert my photo gallery, and now I have to select which gallery I want to insert. So that's why we went to the photo galleries module first, so you can add your photo gallery, and then you can insert it. So photo gallery 1, and you can go ahead and insert it. So then you've got your entire photo galleries entered, and if you wanted to, you can add some additional content. You could title your photo gallery. You can add some different elements into the page to kind of add some more items to that section, or you can just insert it as the photo gallery. There are some options underneath, and these are all to do with the background, and I'm going to get into those a little bit later. So for right now, we're going to leave those blank and just assume that we don't want any background behind the photo gallery. I'm going to click that the block is active, and I'm going to go ahead and click Save. So you'll see that my photo gallery block is in here on the left. I'm going to go ahead on the right and just do a quick add. I'm going to select WYSIWYG just so you can see how that would look. I'm going to put content block here as my title, just so I know that it's got content in it. I'm going to select that I want it to be a content block, and I'm going to enter some content here. And I'm just going to go ahead from the Texas chapter and just pull the content from the first paragraph from their About page as an example. So I'm going to go ahead and insert in that content. Again, I'm going to activate this block, and I'm going to click Save. So it saves my page there. At the bottom here, I'm going to click Save just to save everything in. And then I'm going to come into the front end, and I'm going to go to my URL, and I'm going to take a look and see what it looks like. So I came in. You'll see I have my first 2 blocks, which we'll get into those a little bit later. And then I'm going to scroll down, and you'll see I've got this content here, and I've got my content block on the right. And you'll see that it's starting a little, this content block here is starting a little bit higher than that, and that's just to do with some padding issues that we have going on with the photo gallery that we'll clear up for you. So that's nothing to worry about here. But there's some different things that you can play around with it. So say I decide this content block doesn't look great next to this photo, I can move this block around. And you see I just dragged it down, and then I can extend this element so it's a full width element. So I just use the arrows that are in the bottom right-hand corner to adjust the how many columns across. One thing to be cautious about is you don't want to make these elements too small. For the photo gallery, if you were to only put the photo gallery in a single column, just think that that means that your images are only fitting in one single column. That's what you're telling it to do. So it's probably not going to look very good. So we want to go ahead and try to make the elements, use a little bit of common sense of, my photos are big. I want those to display big on the front end of the site. So let me give it a little refresh. And you'll see now that my photo gallery has expanded to be the full width. And I can click through to see all of the different images that I added. So you've got your photo gallery here. So that's kind of how you go ahead and you insert your images. Then you can see that text block that I had added is down here at the bottom, and my elements at the top didn't move. So just an initial introduction into kind of adding those blocks and playing around with those blocks. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the next type of block that you can add that we wanted to kind of show you, which is the list. So the list is a module that we created that allows you to add content that looks in this format here. So you'll see you have a title, and then you have individual elements, and we automatically provide those elements with a circular photo, and then you can enter a title, a teaser, and a link to read more, to learn more. So that's all kind of the different elements that you can kind of add in to the kind of list module. And so it allows you to create this great style. And one of the main reasons that we came up with this was because of a lot of the speakers that you may have for your different events, or you may want to create a page that kind of highlights some different individuals in your chapter, or maybe you want to give a spotlight to some people. So it gives you the ability to display some content that you would normally maybe put in a list format, and we just created a way to do it in an easier format for you to add that information in without having to style that page. So to add a list is very similar to how we added a photo gallery. You're going to add your new list. So each list has a title, and then you add the elements underneath of that title. So your first element, let's test list 2, and then you can have a description of what is within that test list. Is this, what's it about, kind of some additional information to it, and then you can click Save. The description, again, is optional. When you click Save, it's going to take you right back into the Browse screen, and just like there was the View Photo, there's the list items. So if you click on either of these elements, you can see the list items, and you can see that we have 4 list items in, just like you had your pictures. So again, you can drag and drop the order of them, or you can go ahead and you can add new elements in. And when you add new elements in, you just add your picture, you add your title, you add your teaser, you add a description, and then you add what you want that URL to be. So you can add what you want the title of that to be and what you want the actual URL to be. So that kind of allows you to add multiple different elements kind of into the site and into that area. And so I have 4 elements in there already. And so if you go back, you can see how on the page that list kind of displays. And let's go back into the page module to show you how you would add that list into your pages. So again, you go to Browse Pages, and you would scroll down and you would find your page, which mine's at the very bottom. So you'd go Test Content, click Edit, and then you would be right in here. And I'm going to go ahead and just delete the block that I had created on my shore, yes. And I'm going to go ahead and add a new one. So to add a new block, you click anywhere on the grid where you want to add it. So I didn't mean to add that one, but I added one here, and then you drag it with the right-hand corners to say how wide do you want it to be, which with the list, it is a full width element, so you want to make sure that you're spanning that across the entire grid. You click Select Type, and then you see List as the second one listed. You go ahead, and then you're right back where you were before. It's very similar. So you add your title, test list 2. You go ahead and you pick between the lists that you just created. So you can see I have 2 options, but I only added images to the first one. So I'm going to click Test List. And then I could add some content if I wanted to, or I can leave that content blank. And again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to skip over all of the background information because I don't want to add any background elements to this block. So I click Active and Save, and you'll see my block came in here, and I'll go ahead and refresh. It was test list 1, or just test list before, and now, actually, excuse me, click Save down here first, save my page, and then give it a refresh in here, and then you can see I've got my elements listed in here. The reason that test list T is showing here is that's because this title that I put in, it only describes my block, whereas the title that displays here is the list title that you created under the titles module. So that's why that didn't change there. So that's how you insert a list. So you can insert photo galleries into your pages. You can insert a list into your page. You can insert content blocks, which we'll get back into those content blocks in just a second. I'm going to go into the forms module next. So the forms module, we talked about this a little bit last time, but the forms module allows you to create kind of any sort of form that you may want to have on your website. And most of you, or a good amount of the chapters I know, have a contact form. So if you want to add a contact form, and maybe you want to insert that contact form into one of your pages, that's something that you can do using the content block. Using the page builder in blocking your elements out under the pages module. But first you actually have to create the form. Maybe you want to have a very simple registration, and you want to create just a simple registration form that you then have your users fill out. Then you can kind of take care of that using your forms as well. There's lots of different applications for the forms that you can use. So it's really up to you to see how long you want to, or what different kinds of forms you want to add. But if you do want to go ahead and add a new form, you're going to click the plus button. And you're going to see, if you remember, this was the Add Forms page. So the name of your form is whatever you want your form to be called. So we already have a contact form, so let's just, we'll add we're just going to say registration. So this is registration, and what do you want the URL key of your form to be? So your form can exist without inserting it into a page. So you do have to create a URL for it. So I'm going to do / and registration for my event. So maybe I'll do registration-event. Just a reminder from last time, all URLs should start everything after your domain name. So after the .org, start with a /, only use lowercase numbers, hyphens, underscores, and separate your words out using either a hyphen or an underscore. Your submit button text is that button at the very end. What do you want them to say? So, the standard is submit, but maybe today you decide for this form you want it to say register today. And an exclamation point, like get them really excited. Like when they click that button, they are registering. So they have their button text. And then you have some additional options here. So you can click active. You can click is embeddable. So if we want to add that form onto the custom pages module, you do need to make sure that you click the is embeddable so that we can insert that form onto that page. And then you'll see there's some other options. Is it printable? Do you want to try to make it have a printable page at the end? So you can check that box. And then you can also check the use Google reCAPTCHA to prevent spam on this form. And if you use that page, you just have to make sure you get the API key set up for your site. So we're not going to go into too many details on that, but if you specifically want to add Google reCAPTCHA, that is something that you can do. Then as you scroll down, you'll kind of see there's page copy. So what content shows up before your form fields? So you've got your page title, and then what content do you want to show up in this area? So for this form, I would think that this would be somewhere that you would add the information about the event. So maybe you would add your event date, your event time, you might say a description about your event, and you would, can add some additional text in there. And then sometimes you may want to be able to have a disclaimer or something after the submit button. That's just some additional text that shows up afterwards. So you can add content after the form as well. And then you'll see as you scroll down, you have a few more options. So you can either redirect users to a specific page on Success. So maybe you want them to go somewhere other than just a Success content page. So there's that option. So you can click redirect user, and then you just enter the URL that you want them to go to. It's always good, though, after a user submits a form to at least let them know that it was accepted. So that's why we usually recommend that you do Success page content. And this is just where you say, your thank you for registering. We will, someone from our chapter will contact you with more information. So then you've got your Success page content. And I do believe I talked about this last time as well, but just to give you a reminder, this section is to add tracking codes and external marketing scripts. If you're ever running any marketing campaigns, this is a place that you can go ahead and add that information in. It should otherwise be left blank, but it is there if you do run any marketing campaigns. You can add specific snippets to the submission page and the Success page to kind of better track the progress of your form and your submissions. So then you'll see there's user email notification, which is next. So in your user email notification, you have the ability to send an email to the user. So whoever submitted the form on your front end, you can send them an email, and you can say, kind of who that email is. Thank you for submitting, someone will contact you, or you can kind of connect to them via email. Now, of course, to send them an email, one of the form fields on your form has to be an email. So you do need to make sure that you are adding that option in there as well. So you can use your email sender. So who do you want the email to come from? It will automatically fill with no reply at your domain name. So that means that they won't be able to reply to that email. Or if you want to use an email that someone can actually reply to, so maybe it's your the different emails that you have set up through ASID. So maybe it's your administrator at texas.asid.org or whatever email you want to put in that area. You can have your email content be HTML, text, or both. Recommend just keeping it kind of as HTML because some emails don't support the both functionality. So it's kind of always best to leave it as the HTML default. Then you enter your subject. So thank you for registering. And then the content. So this is the information in this body that would be sent to the submitter. So whatever information that you want to send to them, you would put in this email. And then the very next thing is it's great to notify your users that someone submitted, but it's even better to notify an administrator on your on your board that someone or whoever is in charge of the form, that someone actually submitted an inquiry. So it's great to have a contact form on your website, but it's even better to make sure that someone knows that someone's trying to contact you and you don't have to log in to check that every day. So the best thing to do is you add your administrative email sender, so from whom the automated administrator emails come from. So this means who's the email going to come from in your inbox. So if you're having any issues with spam, sometimes that no reply email can get triggered as a little bit of spam. So sometimes it's better to use an actual email here, and it can help you set up some filtering. So you can either use a unique email here or leave it blank. Again, HTML as the type. And then this is where you can add the email recipients. So who is getting the emails that have been submitted? So you can click the plus button to add as many different contacts as you want. You can add the president, you can have president-elect, any members of your board, a committee chair, whoever you want to get the emails notification that someone submitted. And then you also can set up the subject. So this is the subject of what you want the email to come in as. So someone submitted an inquiry to this form, or however you want that subject title to read so that you know when it comes in your inbox what that email means. And then there's no subject of this email. What we do is we send the field results that get entered by the recipient, the user, whoever's filling out the form. We put those fields into the email, so you can immediately see who emailed, why they, what was their, maybe it was, who registered, what their name and address was, whatever fields you had them fill out. You can go ahead and add that information in there. At the very bottom, there's metadata. Metadata is additional information that you provide to search engines for them to further optimize and understand the content on your pages. It's always good on your pages and in your forms and whenever you can, your news posts, to add in unique meta tags. So you can add in a unique title and a unique description. It's not available at all to any of the public to see, but it is good for search engines to kind of populate that information. So whenever you see those titles and descriptions, it's always great to add that information in there. So I've got my form set up. I have went through all my options. I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And oops, looks like I missed something. So let's scroll down and check the validation. See, I checked that I want the enable administrative email, but I didn't put in an administrative email recipient. So the validation caught it, and I can go ahead and decide I'm not going to enable these right now. I don't know whose email I want to select, so I'm going to leave that one unchecked and then click Save. Oops, I was on this page talking for too long, so it clicked Save. So I know that that's something that a few of you have emailed in and requested, that the log out, that you have been getting logged out. It's really important to save as you go and not to take too long. We are going to try to extend, once we get out of beta, the time for the log out that it occurs. Also, part of the items that you are getting logged out is because our developers are still actively working on your site, so anytime they're pushing code up to your site, it is requiring a new hard refresh. So that is kind of one of the reasons why you're getting logged out. So anyways, you can go ahead and add all this content into your form, and once you add in your form, you'll take you to this browse page where you can then, actually give me just a second. I am logged in as me and not logged in as the chapter. Let me log out. We don't want to add the form to the main ASID site. We want to add it into your website. Okay, so I'll log right back in here. Go to Forms, Browse Forms, and you'll see that I have different forms in here. So once you're on this Browse page, you can edit the form to see the Browse Forms page, or you can click Manage Fields. And Manage Fields is where you can add in all of the different information about your form that you want to submit the information to. So for the Contact Us form, a lot of them are set up with what's your name, what's your email, what's the subject of your request, and what's your actual message. You may want to add in what's your phone number. So if maybe you want to add to your contact form, you want to add what's your phone number. To add a field, you click, you name the field name. So we're going to put your number. And then do you want the number field to be optional or required? Do you want to validate whether or not they can or cannot add it? So you'll click required or not required. And then you select the type. And this just helps with the validation. So it's good to put a phone, as that's one of the types. If it was an email, you would select that it's an email. If it was a name, you could put name, text area, file, URL. So lots of different fields that you can kind of put in there to add in your information. So you can go ahead and add your name, and then you can click Save. And that'll go ahead and add in that form field for you. And maybe you decide after all, you don't want to use the number, you can go ahead and click delete and not use that form field. So once you have your form built, you have all your fields built out, you have all your settings set up, you again go back into the Pages module to insert the page for the form. And actually, before I get there, if you remember, I did say that your forms can exist on their own. So let's look at that contact form. And you'll see just to get to the front end of that, I clicked the link, and this little icon that kind of shows me that that opens in a new tab, and that opens up the page. So you can see the contact form is kind of set up here. They have, this was pulled from the Texas chapter and how they currently had their form set up. So they had on their Contact Us page a link to view a larger map. And this was content that was added before the form. You could add in your actual address and information into this page, kind of lots of different options into what you add in to your form page. But then you can see the 4 fields that we have set up: your name, your email, your subject, and then your message, which is the text area, and then the click send to submit. So that's how the form can exist on its own, but you can also then embed that form into the Pages module. So if we look at Pages and browse Pages, I'm actually going to go ahead and show you the contact page that has this, this one. Let's go ahead and submit and add it in there, Contact Us here. So we see the Contact Us page, and this one is built with the Page Builder. So let's click on the Texas site and the Contact Us, and Contact Us is the URL for it. Let's fix that navigation there for you. So you can see what you have kind of plugged in here is you have the information that truly existed on this page for the Texas chapter. So in the back end, you can see on the left-hand side, you have the Contact Us information. So you've got a WYSIWYG block that has all of the content that shows up on the left-hand side of the page. And then on the right-hand side of the page, you have the information, the form. So to add in the form, you're going to add a new block, and you're going to select the type and select form, as we did for the others. And then it would take you to the page that you have your title and your display title, and then your form. You select the form from the drop-down, and again, you can add content. You've got your background colors, and if you want to add those in, and that's how you kind of add in that form. So that gives you the ability to add content and a form onto a single page, which I think is a tool that a lot of you may use to kind of add some additional form content and page content into the section. So that's kind of how you can go ahead and add content. One last way in the Page Builder, and let me go back because I don't want to edit that change. And one additional thing that you can do, and I'm going to actually go back and browse the pages and go back to my test page so I don't mess up the page that's currently built for the Texas Contact Us page, but I'm going to go into my test content page and click Edit. One additional thing that you can add onto these pages is you can add in those background elements. So that allows you, if you use the background elements, you have some options to add some color kind of into the background of your page in the specific section that you want to. So this is an area that you can definitely go a little wild with your content, and we always recommend that you kind of just try to keep within the realm of what would is in the theme of your website, and try to make sure that it looks beautiful while you're doing it. But you can add either a background color, or you can add a background image to cover what shows up behind this this row of text. So you can see as we're adding the content, we add it in rows. And each row has a different height based on the content that you add in it, but they all kind of have the width that you set. So if on this one I wanted to go ahead and add that background to that section, and I want that content block to kind of show up with a gray background. So you can use this tool here and to find something within your realm. You may already know the Pantone of the color that you want to use. So I'm going to just pick kind of a light gray. Go ahead and go with all 9s, which I know is a light gray hex color. And then you have the background position. So again, I'm getting a little technical with these three terms, but you've got fluid width, fixed width, and column. So fluid width means that your content is going fluid across the entire portion of your site from edge to edge. The column means that your color is just showing up where you have your content. And the fixed row is what's showing up, the row fixed width, is showing up from your content area from your block to your block. So it's not touching the left and the right edges. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and click fluid width, and I'm going to add that color in. And since I didn't add an image, I'm going to just leave all of these additional elements blank. So I'll click save, and we'll just give it a refresh here. And you'll see that it went ahead, and you can see it added that element in for the left and the right. Now, you do have to add a little bit of padding into these elements because just to make it look good. You know, adding it in doesn't mean that it's always going to look good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a blank space to the top and a blank space to the bottom, and I'm going to click Save, and then just give it a quick refresh here. And you'll see that it added some space to the top and the bottom. So it's just the ability to add a little bit of division in some of your pages. They might not look good if you pick a color that doesn't go. It's just something to use with caution. It is there. There are ways to make it look great on your site. So the elements are there. Just, you know, use caution on kind of what you're adding. The other element that you can add, just real quick to show you, is to add a textile to the background or an image. So instead of using a color here, I'm going to delete the color, and I'm going to select a file to insert. And I'm going to go ahead and, I had a picture saved, so give me just a second. I'm going to use this textile here. So I'm going to select my file, or, oops, not do that. That was a little Mac issue there. I'm going to select my file. Let's do this the old-fashioned way instead of the drag and drop. Give it a refresh. Well, go ahead. I'm going to delete the number, select the file, and this is where this area you can select it in. So I'm going to go ahead and drag my image in there and then select that image. So that's the background image that I want to use. Now you'll see beneath that you have some options. You can either have the picture as scroll or fixed. If you do it as scroll, that means that no elements change on the page, but if you use fixed, then that kind of creates a different kind of parallax effect on the image. And but that's one thing that you can do, so scroll versus fixed. And then you can also set your background size and repeat. So if you have a textile that repeats well, you can set your image to repeat so that you can only have to put in a small version of it, and you can tile your image vertically and horizontally or both. But since this picture that I've set up doesn't need to tile, I'm going to leave it original. I'm not going to fit or zoom my image. I want just the image I uploaded to show. So I'm going to click Save. And I'm going to go ahead and come back in here and give this page a refresh. And you'll see my textile now shows up, and my text shows up at the top. And so you have to be careful. You can kind of see it's a little difficult to read that text there. So I would need to go back into my widget, and I would need to make my text probably a little bit darker. I might want to use one of my styles to make it a little bit bigger. So maybe I would use the H3 and make it a little bit bold to kind of make that show up. And I might actually even change the font color to white so that it shows up a little bit better. So I'm going to click Save, and then let's give it a refresh and see how we look here. So now I've added too much text and it's not showing up. But you have to play around with it to kind of see, you know, what you can get to show. My image, what happened here is that my image, I set the original image, so I didn't set my image to expand or fit to my width. So I have too much text for the image that I uploaded. But there's lots of different things that you can kind of do in this block. It gives you a lot of flexibility on your site to do a lot of different graphical elements with it. But again, it's also one of those things that you can go a little bit too far with it. And there is a lot of flexibility, and with that gives you kind of some areas that maybe could create some things that aren't as as great on your site as you would want them to be. So it's an area to play around with. You can always add your pages and then make them inactive if they didn't turn out the way you want to. You can kind of simplify them, so you have a lot of different options there. That looks a little bit better. To add in that content. So the Content Builder has a lot of different tools with it. That was just an introduction into some of them, but using those WYSIWYG blocks and adding in your forms and your photo galleries and your lists gives you a really great way to kind of get in there and break out these pages a little bit differently. So I think went a few minutes over there, Joseph, but definitely want to open it up for any questions now.
Okay, we have one good question here. Will iframes work on the site? Somebody said they use Eventbrite, and it allows for embedding registration onto the page, and is that something that they could do?
Yes, that is something that you can do. So that would be something that you can add in, say we added in a content block. You do have to add it in using the HTML, but it's really simple because Eventbrite would give you the code, and all you have to do is add it in. So if you were adding it in here as a block, you would just create WYSIWYG, and you would select your title, we'll say Eventbrite, and your options. You would do a content block, and you would come in here, and you would just click the source button, and then you would just copy in the code that you got from Eventbrite and paste it in here, and click Save, and it will we'll click Active first, and then click Save, and it will add that iframe in for you. So I know some of you use Issue to do some of your newsletters, and they allow you to embed, so you can definitely embed all of those into your pages. Some of you use Eventbrite or different tools. A lot of the YouTube, you can embed YouTube videos, lots of different tools to embed. So yes, we don't strip out any of that code, and you can go ahead and insert those iframes.
Okay, then we'll give it a few minutes. If anybody has any additional questions that they would like to ask, they could type them in. Okay, I'm not seeing any additional. Okay.
Yes, so thank you for joining today's webinar. We're going to go ahead and turn off the recording.